This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode 42, with guest Matt Cooke. Any links and resources you hear in this episode can be found at yourkickasslife.com/42.
This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast with Andrea Owen, a no BS guide to self-help and badassery. Because ladies, let's face it, life's too short for it to not kick ass. And here's your host, the girl who serves it up straight with a side of crazy, Andrea Owen.
Hey there, ass kickers. Very, very excited to bring you this episode of the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast with my friend and colleague, Matt Cooke. Let me introduce Matt before we jump into the podcast. Matt is a 500 RYT yoga instructor, success coach, and author, impassioned to inspire massive action and embodiment off the yoga mat. Matt's coaching uses movement and deep inquiry to stimulate our best thinking. Since graduating university, he's gained his 500-hour yoga training from Noah Mays in Los Angeles and began coaching clients from all over the world towards optimal living, working out of San Diego, California, my hometown, with entheos.com. The best part is that his yoga and optimal living clients have done the same, doubling their strength, flexibility, income, and confidence. To upgrade your practice on and off the mat, check out his website and blog for more free resources at creativewarriorliving.com. So without further ado, here is Matt.
That's so brilliant.
All right. Hey there, ass kickers. Andrea Owen here of Your Kick-Ass Life. You are listening to the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode 42, with my friend Matt Cooke. Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's going on, Andrea?
I'm so excited to have a boy on my podcast.
Yeah. I have to say, I feel honored being the Jackie Robinson 42. Appreciate that.
And you have to talk in a really deep voice the whole time.
Peace. Yeah.
You don't. But I always love to try and mix it up. You know, primarily my guests are women. I know a lot of women. I must. And but I'm so glad you're here. And Matt and I met. I am are they called professors over at Entheos? Is that what I call myself?
Yes, ma'am. You're a professor, a partner.
I'm a professor over at Entheos. And that link will be in the show notes as well. If you guys got to go check that out, the academy over there. And that's how I met Matt. And Matt was so helpful with all the techie stuff and getting me all set up. And I then found out that he's really brilliant and smart and evolved and knows a lot of things about personal development.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's I feel quite honored to be given that from Miss Kick-Ass Coach Andrea Burr. Thank you.
That title. You're welcome. You're welcome. So you have so many things that we could talk about. I mean, I could have you on the podcast like 8 times to go over, just the topics that you sent me. And you are kind of like the expert on how to unleash your unconscious mind, which, as we all know in personal development, and if you don't know, you're about to get schooled, that awareness is the biggest factor, correct?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Well, and so I love to work off the premise. Marcy Shimoff, she has a book called Happy for No Reason, and she talks a lot about us having 60,000 thoughts a day. So according to scientists, we do have 60,000 thoughts a day. And sort of the terrifying part of that stat is that 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we had yesterday.
Yeah, that feels like I know. I read that when you had written that over to me, and I was just like, that seems like such wasted space and wasted time.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, that's really what it is. It's sort of that our brain is like on a record loop,
right?
That's just playing over and over again. So you're right. I mean, awareness is truly key to that, and being able to slow down and sort of see where some of those blind spots are. So, yeah, it's incredibly exciting.
Okay. And my people know I've talked ad nauseum about, and had people on talking about your thoughts and how to become aware of them. And I'd personally talk about not so much changing your thoughts, because I have found that to be extremely difficult in my experience, as do my clients. So I talk about creating something neutral. And you I mean, it's kind of switching gears, but I would love for you to talk a little bit about, it's called reticular activating system.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that? And tell us about it and how you use it, because you say it's your secret sauce to being a boss.
Sure. So for me, I've created a personal creed. So it's nothing that like I can put a patent on. It's just purely something for me that I choose to prime my brain every single day. There's this little part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and it's a part of our brain that literally filters all of the stimuli. I mean, we get trillions of stimuli throughout the day thrown at us, obviously through commercials, any kind of media, but even the beeps on our phones and Facebook updates. And for us, it's just truly, it's the ability to filter through that and find what we're truly looking for. So I love to always Tony Robbins does this thing in his workshops where he says, I want you to look around the room, and you can do this right now as you're listening to the podcast. Look around your room, look for everything that is green, and just take note of it. Everything in your room right now that's green. Mm-hmm. And now close your eyes, and then think about everything in the room that's red. And with your eyes closed, you cannot go back and think about what was actually red, right, because you're priming your brain for green. So in the same way, I love to do that with my personal creed. So for myself, I every single day tell myself what universe, spirit, God means to me, but as well as how I'm going to show up in the world on that day. And so for me, that's been, I jokingly call that my secret sauce to being a boss, but that's just truly how I plug into the divine within myself, the highest within myself.
So like, do you, is it like a mantra that you tell yourself in the morning, or do you do, like, I picture you like seriously getting into like deep meditation where you like set up your whole day, you spend like an hour doing it. Is that true? Is that true, Matt?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, I literally do about 30 minutes of asana, so postures, yoga, meditation, all that kind of stuff. And then I do 30 minutes of meditation, and I usually listen to binaural beats. I don't know if you guys have ever talked about those on the podcast. Those are a lot of fun. Oh, so it's basically just frequencies that you're tuning your brain literally to slow down your nervous system and even your brain waves. So we could get into that. That's probably a whole nother podcast, but it's a lot of fun doing that. And that's just the way that I kind of dig into meditation. And then from there, when I'm already in sort of a lower brainwave state where it's in my most hyper creative state, is when I then prime my brain with my personal creed, which is sort of mantras. It's just repeated mantras. Like one of them would be like, today I will be fearless beneath no one, and I do not take criticism from anyone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just
I don't take no shit from nobody.
Exactly.
Also known as.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds okay. Backing up a little bit, the reticular activating system. It's sort of like when you want a new car and say you like want to buy a Jetta and you see Jettas all over the place. It's the same thing. Okay. So literally, as I'm recording this podcast, there's a ladybug outside of my window right now. It's crawling on the screen of my office window. And the other day there was one on my countertop, and I picked it up and I put it in my hand, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe this means good luck is coming my way. And I put it outside, and I was really attached to that. I'm like, that would be amazing. Not that I've been experiencing bad luck, but who doesn't want more good luck? And now I keep seeing ladybugs. And there was one earlier. Okay, now I don't know if it's the same ladybug, but there's another ladybug on the other window of my office. Swear to God. I'm not joking, you guys. So I may not have noticed the ladybug had I not thought that thought a few days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you have primed your brain to see ladybugs. Now, what is interesting is that first one had to have sort of interrupted your thought patterns, your unconscious loop that your brain was playing on. So something about that interrupted your loop, and now you're seeing them everywhere. So
yeah, because what had happened was like I had just received some bad news, like literally like on the phone, and from a family member, and then I got off the phone and was feeling like kind of like in that panic mode for this person, and they're sitting on the counter was the ladybug. So yes, you're right, it did.
Yeah, very interesting.
Okay, so here's the thing though. Most of my people are busy women. They have kids, and you're not a busy woman.
No, tend not to think that.
Not today.
Yeah.
And so what I really would love to talk to you about, and I know that you are you're a yoga instructor, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And obviously have this meditation thing on lockdown. And, and I love that you talk about undirected thinking. So, before I get into asking you more about meditation, so tell us about undirected thinking, because I find this fascinating.
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. That is my favorite thing. And it's, in fact, I actually want to write an article on, what Thomas Edison and Paul McCartney know about creativity that you don't. Both of them use this premise of basically our brains, when we are focusing and sort of festering on logically reaching a solution to a creative problem that we're having. A lot of times, and this is where creative writing block comes from, of just pounding away at an idea, and we're coming at it from the exact same perspective over and over and over again, and sort of just hitting literally a wall, sort of a mental wall on it. But when we begin to give ourselves physical and mental space, it literally lets our unconscious begin to then filter the question through and sort of percolate on it. And what's incredible is, I'm sure a lot of your listeners find that, when you're in the shower or when you're taking a walk, and sometimes I even joke when you're on the toilet, is literally when you have your eureka moments. Those are the moments when your brain is sort of not logically really turned on. It's so much more so in a creative and slower state. So it can start to pick up brainwave patterns from all across the cortex. So all across your entire brain, it can start to fire new connections and make like new novel ideas and concepts come together.
It's so interesting. You and I have talked a little bit about this before, and for a while, it's been years, but my kids used to have those bathtub crayons.
Yeah.
That are washable. And there was a time where I would use those and I would write, because it was right in the beginning. My kids were really little when I first started my business. And I would use those in the shower, and I would write things down in the shower because I would always forget, because I had these two little babies. So, stepping out of the shower, everything changes. But I never really understood why that was. I kind of figured like, oh, it's just because I'm not having to do a million things. But I never really put it together that it's actually that you're not thinking about, that you're in a place where your mind is quiet, as you put it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And that's sort of the premise that I even work with all of my clients, is I always say, create spaciousness in your body to create spaciousness in your mind. So as you said, literally just to even have that physical space away from the problem when you're in the shower or whatever it may be. And then, there becomes this sort of mental space that's there for all those solutions to just pop up. So it is really beautiful. In fact, even Paul McCartney, what I was going to say about Paul McCartney is that he literally wrote the song Yesterday just coming out of sleep.
Wow.
It's really incredible that as his brain was just starting to wake up and it's still a little foggy, is actually when he created one of the most beautiful Beatles songs of all time.
It's so interesting because, I have a couple things to say about that, is that a lot of my best work has come from writing something either when I'm a little bit tired, like at 10 o'clock at night, when I'm not working, when I don't want to work, but I'm like, it's like, I have to get this out. I just have to get this piece of writing out. Or when it's like, when I have 20 minutes and I have to go pick up my kids. And I always thought that was just pressure. But I think that what it really is that I kind of like give up.
Yes.
I let go. And
Yes.
it's like, whatever, and then I'm like, this is it. And then I'm like typing furiously. And then I think that, I love also what you have to say about not just like quieting the mind, getting into those spaces where you do have a quiet mind, but moving your body. And that's part of like the spaciousness in your body, correct? Like exercising or going on walks to, I think you say something about just getting out the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you're so right in every single sense, Andrea. So it's really interesting.
I'm just repeating back to you what you sent me. So it's not.
I love it. Well, I'm interesting is what I'm trying to say there, apparently.
You're so smart reading my work.
I think what I really love about movement and about yoga specifically, but just movement in general is that, we always say mind plus body plus soul, that mind, body, soul thing. But for me, it really is mind plus body equals soul, or equals sort of our divinity or highest self, because for me, it seems that movement really is actually stimulating the body. So we're beginning to increase respiration. We're beginning to increase lymphatic flow, and truly, like, getting our muscles moving really is stimulating every single part of the physical body. And then the interesting thing is then when we introduce breath, and this is what I love to do with my clients, is then once we introduce breath to movement, we begin to then start to slow down the mind. So it's almost, especially in 2014, 2015, whenever people are listening to this, it's our brains are just running so fast while our bodies are so sluggish, throughout the day, especially sitting at desks. So through movement, we're slowly able to bring down the mind and bring up the body so that they come to a level playing field. And that's truly when, I love to say our divinity is expressed. And like you said, Andrea, of you being able to quickly write down, when you have 20 minutes before you have to pick up your kids, it's almost that before that, when that pandemonium hits and all of a sudden that you just give up. And there's that moment when just that space is created in your mind to have some of your greatest thoughts spill forth.
Well, and it's also interesting, and anyone listening to this who might, maybe you're not an entrepreneur, maybe you're not a writer or an artist. Like if you've read my book, I wrote a whole chapter about creativity and how all of us are creative beings, and it could look like so many different things. Like I used to think that like creative people were just like artists, like they painted or sculpted or something. And so I wasn't one, but that's not true. We are all creative beings. And I think that so many of us, just don't take the time. It's just a tragedy that we don't have the time to tap into that. And that's such a huge part of, I follow the work of Dr. Brene Brown, and a lot of my teachings are around it. And, a way to drop the whole comparison trap is to cultivate creativity. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I think that no matter who you are and what you do in this world, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, I think that this is helpful, because I think what a lot of this is pointing to, this whole conversation that we're having, is really slowing down. And I know for me personally that is probably like my top 3 struggles is that. And I know that a lot of the very busy women that listen to this podcast, it's the same way. So here's my next question. I have tried very hard to, I think I got the self-help thing pretty much on lockdown. Like I'm not perfect at it by any means. My people know that. And I still work to walk my talk every day. But I think that the part where I really struggle with is like the tapping into my body part. And it's funny, when I was in my coach training, we did a whole curriculum around that. And I was like, nope, not my favorite. Don't want to do this. I was like really clear. Yeah. So, and I recently started, it was actually right before we moved. Like in the summertime, I made a commitment to start meditating 5 minutes every morning. It was working pretty well. And then we moved and it kind of got shot to shit. But I'm really curious, like what you're going to laugh. I want some tips and techniques on just how really busy people, like, let me just give you a snapshot. And cause I know this isn't what your life looks like. And it looks like a lot of my listeners' lives. My kids get up at about anywhere between this morning it was like 5:50 in the morning, and just early, I should say. And it's like, for me to get, I would rather sleep than get up really early to meditate. And then if I do get up really early to meditate, I'm like, oh, let me have some coffee first. So then this was my dilemma. So I'm meditating with my coffee next to me. And the whole time I'm thinking is it okay if I take a sip of coffee during this 5 minutes of meditation? Because I don't want it to get cold. So Do you see where I need help? I feel like I don't know if I'm self-sabotaging. I don't know why I make this so hard. And I have not had success with yoga. And everybody tells me, all the yogis tell me, it's a practice, Andrea. You need to just keep going. And I'm digging my heels in. So what's your armchair psychology on all of that?
My armchair well, I am not a psychologist. So I'm going to say that disclaimer. I'm not a neuroscientist. I hear everything you're saying, Andrea, and you're right. I think a lot of the clients that I work with, I do choose to do yoga with them. But for me, even just super simple stretching, and in fact, when I went to Kripalu, which is where I got my 200-hour for yoga, the big focus was on the 6 movements of the spine. So the spine can rotate, obviously, when we do twists. It can go laterally, so from side to side, and it can also flex and extend. So sort of, you've seen cat-cow when you're bending your back. And so for me, it's just starting to get very simple movements. And so even if it is just literally twisting in your chair throughout the day, and maybe just moving your spine in different ways, that does pick up the nervous system. So that actually gives you sort of a little shot of caffeine, I guess, throughout the day. But that also just begins to stimulate blood flow throughout the entire system. So it does start to perk up your brain even a little bit just by doing those really simple movements. And you don't need much space to be doing that. And then just, lastly on top of that, just taking like a 10 or 15 minute walk at some point during the day. I think we're finding out more and more just how scary the effects of literally sitting are for our bodies and for our hearts. And once again, whole nother podcast, and could do like a weekend workshop on that. But yeah, I think just very simple movement can be huge, not only for, our bodies, but actually the way that we're functioning and our productivity while we're working. So
that's really smart. And I think that And I think this is true for a lot of my listeners too, is that I look at things like meditation and yoga as very black and white. Either you do it or you don't. And, or I take that back. Either you do it really well or you don't do it at all. And I think that even it's just the effort, if nothing else, is really important. So
yes.
I'm committing here on this podcast on episode number 42 to give it another shot.
Woo! I love to hear it.
And I hope you're all with me, you guys. If you're out there on Instagram or Twitter, I'm Andrea_Owen on Twitter. Send me a tweet and tell me that you're into. We can keep each other accountable that way. And just a quick reminder, any links that you hear here in this podcast, yourkickasslife.com/42. And I want to talk to you about failure, because I know you talk about how screwing up is important, and I'm a big fan of that too. So let's discuss.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love that. Well, I always love to joke about the sort of this example of hula hooping. Like, if you think about hula hooping, I'm trying to think, when was the last time that I hula hooped, which actually was last week. And
of course it was.
Right, of course. And so, but thinking about it, like, does anybody ask, like, hey, can I see the instructions? I'm not really quite sure how this thing works. It's like, nope, you just start swirling your hips and you just literally become so engrossed in the activity and in succeeding, because there's that excitement of like, oh my gosh, it's up, it's staying on my hips.
Yeah.
And then when it falls, it's like, cool, picking it back up and going again. So that's some of my excitement around it, and it's the play in succeeding. So being able to just literally it being a game is what gets me excited about failure. So
yeah, I fail every day.
Well, what's really funny, Andrea? I know Ramit Sethi. I don't know if any of your people know his work.
I know who he is.
Yeah, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, I believe. And he talks a lot about, he actually has a spreadsheet that he's created. And I think it's like every month he needs to document for himself 7 or 5 like massive failures that he had that month.
Wow.
And
so is that in just business or his personal life as well?
I think it's for both. Okay. I shouldn't be speaking about this. I just heard it, and I just think it's the coolest thing of that he actually strives to make failures, because he knows that if he's screwing up enough, that he's going to get success from that, which I just think is so beautiful.
I love that. And it's funny, I'm making changes for 2015, not big changes, but good little changes for Your Kick-Ass Life. And one of them is I thought about doing like some kind of because my whole thing is like, let's get comfortable practicing imperfection. And it's, something my people struggle with a lot, myself as well. And so I was thinking like, I want to do something that's like, we all like announce our failures.
I love that, Andrea. Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, by the time this airs, I'll probably have a little bit more of a clear picture on it of what it's going to look like. There'll be some hashtag involved, but I'm sure. But yeah, I love the hula hoop example. And it's so, I mean, like there are a trillion examples out there, everything from, my dog that we throw a piece of popcorn at her in the air and she misses half the time, or, even just like a kid learning how to walk. And, it's even like, I watch my kids, that's like really great to watch children like learn how to do things that my kids are learning. My daughter's learning how to write. My son's learning how to read. They're learning how to tie their shoes. It just, we fail over and over again all day. So it saddens me that we get to a point in our life where we feel shame around that, and we don't want to talk about our failures when it's like really critical. Like there would be no innovation. There would be no anything without a lot of failure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny. Our CEO, Brian Johnson at Entheos, loves to joke about, what if we talk to ourselves the way that we do as adults, as children, and imagining that if like the very first time we fell over, we just said, you know what, screw this. I'm horrible at this. I'm never going to give this a shot. You know what? I'm just going to give up on this whole walking thing and just stick with crawling. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is okay. So do you, no, we'd all be like, when you said that, like I got this visual of people just like, crawling around like snakes with vests on or something funny like that. Okay. I want to ask you to talk about one more thing, and that's your environment. I just had another guest on, Lori Harder. She's a fitness enthusiast, and she was talking about doing like a cleanse, like an environment cleanse in your personal space and all of that. So tell us your take on how you believe the environment is everything.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's incredible what she had to say too. I think for me, environment is so much more. We talk so much about being green and recycling and all that good stuff, but environment truly, it's what we were saying about the reticular activating system of sort of priming our brain. So the stimulus that we're putting in front of our eyes and in front of our consciousness throughout the day literally shapes who we are as human beings. And in fact, I have a friend who does a lot of coaching around just literally the way that we present ourselves to the world even is that we can literally grow into our environment. Our consciousness can grow into what we surround ourselves with, the people that we surround ourselves with, as well as just even like you think about your workspace. Like, are there papers everywhere? And thinking if I have junk just everywhere around me, how much do I truly care and create that place as a priority in my life? And think about the bedroom. Is your bedroom conducive to making love and to sleeping, or is it conducive instead to like working and staying up late with computer screens or TVs on? And what do I really want to tell my consciousness, but more importantly, as we said from the very beginning, my unconscious brain, of what truly is important to me.
Yes. So many good nuggets in there. Okay. So this is like life coaching 101 a million years ago. When I started doing my training, I'm sure you've seen like the wheel of life inventory, where it's like the wheel and it's broken up into 8 parts, and each part is like a section of your life. So it's like career, love, money, physical health. Well, one of the pieces of the pie is physical environment. And it's like, I never really thought about it before I saw that, like how important your physical environment was. And it's funny you say that about like your bedroom. Like, of course I live in a house with 2 small children, and it's like, you can never keep on top unless you have a full-time maid that's like constantly following you and your whole family around. Then you just cannot keep on top of the mess. And the one room in my house that I insist on it not being messy is my bedroom.
Boom.
I cannot, like, no toys in there. Like, I let them bring stuff in, but they bring it out when they're done. They don't leave it in there. Like, stuff is picked up. I make my bed. I always have clean towels and clean sheets. It's like, it's that thing that and there are no pictures of my children in my bedroom. There's some bathroom. Yes. There's some funny pictures of my kids at the beach and stuff, but like the bedroom is just pictures of me and my husband. I've made that decision, and I cannot tell you like how good it's been for our marriage. Like, that's our sanctuary.
Absolutely. And you're so right. It's the pictures even of friends that can truly, it's as if those people are looking in on you being intimate. And so when it's just you and your husband and having those pictures of just you and your husband, it's just you guys sharing that time together. So yeah, that is great.
Yeah. I don't want to be getting busy and looking over and seeing pictures of my kids, or worse, like my parents.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
They're leaving the bedroom. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I really liked too what you said about, oh gosh, I should have written it down, but you said something really brilliant about, you said something like you become subconsciously like the people that you hang out with or something like that.
Oh,
What was
yes,
that?
absolutely. Yeah, well, so Jim Rome, who was the sort of
Yes.
predecessor to Tony Robbins, talked a lot about you are the sum of the top 5 people that you hang out with. So
Mm-hmm.
for those of your listeners, if you have a piece of paper in front of you or your iPhone, like literally write down who are the top 5 people that I spend the most time with.
Your key
Um,
players.
yeah, who are they? Oh, I love that. Key players. Who are your
Mm-hmm.
key players? Yeah. And truly, those are the people that are helping to shape even the way that you just think about your world. I love to talk about Martin Seligman's 3 Ps of optimism. He talks about, and this is probably once again a whole other podcast, but he talks about, we take everything as either personal or not personal. We see everything as either permanent or not permanent, and we see everything as either pervasive, meaning that it permeates every single part of our lives, or not. And so it's just very interesting that the people that we surround ourselves with are going to give us and start to impress upon our consciousness the way that they see the world.
That's so true. And I know this to be true from experience because the day that I, did that, I don't know if I was really conscious when I did it, when I took inventory of the people that I surrounded myself, but I do remember thinking, my life fell apart about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And the way I did it was I was so caught up in what was happening in my life and that there was this one person that was causing so much pain in my life and I was allowing it. I kind of came to the realization that I was allowing this to happen. I was obsessing on it and I was obsessing on this one person. So I got out a piece of paper and I took a Sharpie and I made a list of all the people that were supporting me. So, and it just like, I looked at that list of people and I taped it up near my desk and so I could see it. So anytime I was obsessing on this person, like I'd be like, look at that list and look at all the power and love from those people far outweighed this one person that really was not treating me in a loving manner. So that was kind of my way of shifting out of that. And then since then, I have really made a conscious effort to surround myself with like-minded people and spirits. And if you're listening to this and you have no idea where to even begin, guess what? I did a whole podcast on it.
Yes.
So we'll put the link in there, How to Manifest Your Tribe. I did that podcast with my best friend, Amy Smith. Because a lot of people, like, I think that we get to a certain age, and I'm sure that this is kind of true with men, but I find it very much to be true with women, is that we're out of college and we're, either well into our 30s and 40s, and we've reached a point where we don't really have those close female friendships anymore. Our really close friends have moved away or whatever has happened, and we don't even know where to start. So I would say to answer that question really quickly is just start with yourself. And like how I always say, how do you want to show up in the world first?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, Andrea. Absolutely. Starting within and then letting all those relationships sort of be imbued with how you see the world. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Yeah.
I've talked to so many people who have said that, like even successful people who make a lot of money. They're like, I tried to surround myself with people that made a lot of money because I wanted to see how they thought and see how they worked and see, just all of that. And I'm like, that's really smart. Because, like I imagine that it would be a really uphill battle to be successful both personally and professionally if you're hanging out with people that are constantly complaining and listening to their own inner critic and being a victim and that type of stuff.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that your people know about being a victim versus a creator. That's incredible. I love it.
It is in my 21 tips and tools to live a kick-ass life is to move out of victimhood. And I think it's a chapter in my book too. It's got to be because I talk about it all the time. Yeah, it's just, I think that there comes a time where, well, that's when my whole life changed. It's like I had a throwdown with myself and just said, I'm tired of blaming everybody for my circumstances because clearly it wasn't working. I was relying on other people for my happiness is what I was doing. And then when it didn't work out, I was blaming them. And nobody ever filled out a job application for my happiness. Can you imagine? That's a big
and then you hiring them? Yeah.
You're hired to fulfill the duty of Andrea's happiness.
Then the question is, how much would you pay them? That's what
I know, right? And by the way, you work for free to do that. Nobody wants that job. So I don't expect anyone to have it. And that was really like when everything changed. Yeah. Yeah, off topic, but important.
So important.
Yeah. Well, tell everyone, the links are definitely in yourkickasslife.com, blah, 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 /42. But tell everyone where the best place to find you is and to come do yoga with you.
Come do yoga with me. Well, I live in San Diego, and
my hometown,
San Diego. Currently looking to jump into a studio, so I'm really excited about that opportunity. But yeah, they can find me at creativewarriorliving.com, Creative Warrior Yoga on Facebook, Matt Cooke Yoga on Twitter, Instagram, Creative Warrior Yoga. So yeah, I'm around.
Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, one more time, yourkickasslife.com /42. And that's all we have. I hope you enjoyed this. You know what I love about you? I love that you are like woo-woo without the woo-woo, if that makes any sense at all.
I love that. I love
woo-woo
that.
from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, right on. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And I will see you all next time for episode 43. Until then, I will see you in cyberspace. Bye.